Well, anyways, any other conversations we'd like to add to today?
Have you ever considered that you might be gay?
Me? Yes.
Victory is out.
Yes. And am I gay? Pretty sure I'm not.
Well, we're all a little gay.
Well, I mean, I guess it's a section. Is it a spectrum?
I think so.
Okay. Well, what do you think about the whole idea that, like, so one of the first things that kind of confused me for a while, well, is the idea of whether homosexuality was genetically inherent or not. Because for me, just from the get-go, it's like, well, what's wrong with people being homosexual in the first place? And why do we need to argue that it is genetic or not? Like, whether it is or not, it doesn't really matter. If someone chooses to be, then why are we stopping them, really? That's my biggest thing about it.
People have all sorts of different opinions on why it's wrong.
Yeah. Well, what are some of the opinions?
Some of them think that people that are homosexual or anything that's not like
Quote unquote normal.
Quote unquote cisgendered
Uh.
are sick,
Mhm.
and that they're abnormal, and therefore should be helped or cast out. From there, they get to choose how they want to deal with it.
Yeah.
Some people just say like, "You're an abomination. We should cut off the
Aberration.
Yeah. Some people say like we need to help everyone. Some people say whatever. That's just how it is. Some people say it's okay. They're not in it. But yeah, that's one reason. Some people think that. Some people are scared of things that are different. They don't understand it. Some people believe that it will lead to the end of the world because we won't reproduce.
Yes.
Some people. I think that's just a symptom of people think that is an aberration.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I feel that it can, depending on how it's proposed, obviously, because the context is very important. That it not necessarily means the end of the world, but it can pose real issues if there were a greater number of homosexual people than there are.
Would it really?
They're demons now.
I feel like we're
If
at
there
the,
was-
we're at the point in the world where
Well,
we
yeah.
would recognize that, like, if we were all homosexual, if everyone was homosexual, I think we would realize, oh, we still need to make babies. So we'll make. Well, no, that's too extreme too, because
Well, I see what the point that I think you're going for
yeah,
that.
but then it could be that like if 50% of us are babies or homosexual, not enough of us would reproduce, and that would be worse than if everybody was homosexual and we realized that we needed to address it.
The exorcists are going to have their hands full.
So are you basically stating that people aren't dumb enough that if we realized that we were in decline of
Because-
population, people, even if they were homosexual,
Well,
they would
it's
still...
It's like if it was really extreme and say that everyone was homosexual, we would realize and we would take measures to make more children.
Yeah.
But if like a percentage,
Mhm.
like critical mass, like 50% or something, we might not realize that we were on decline,
Yeah.
and then
And that's what
that would cause the actual issue.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And all again, what it comes down to isn't to say stop and you shouldn't be doing it. Just be aware.
Yeah.
That's it. And that's all I would say is, again, my MO for everything has always been and will always be just be aware that there are situations, and even if it's unlikely, it's still something to think about, because if you're in that situation, it's better to be prepared for it than not.
Well, I think a lot of people that disagree with it just have a visceral reaction from it. It's just like, that's wrong. That's not how things are. Therefore, they shouldn't be. Therefore, you shouldn't be gay.
Before we go,
Wrong to be gay.
yeah. Well, before we go too far, James, did you have any opinions on the situation?
Trying to gather my thoughts. I think that there's really nothing wrong with being homosexual.
Okay.
I feel like I'm not entirely sure if it's just a genetic. I don't honestly think that it's wrong either way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would you be in the same opinion as me? As like, even if it was a choice, it should be fine anyways. Yeah.
It shouldn't be a big deal.
Yeah.
A lot of people make it a big deal because it's not natural.
Or it's in animation.
Yeah. There's been evidence that it happens with animals that have
Oh no, absolutely.
no contact with humans whatsoever. So.
Yeah, but then people say that it's a small percentage, if anything.
But
And because there's been such a rise of it in modern culture, people feel that
that's why animals.
no, not white animals.
Okay.
They think that it's,
Okay.
they think-
Sorry.
They think a lot of people are choosing to be gay now because it's in vogue,
Okay.
which you can make the argument.
You could.
You know what trans trending is? It's
I-
people that believe they are transgendered because they stand to benefit from that situation.
Really?
Yeah.
People.
Like if
Well, I would,
'Cause,
sorry,
like-
I might be mixing it up. As in, like, do they actually think that, or is that just the opinion that's being pushed on by?
they actually, a lot of people are not transgender, but they will pose themselves as trans. Okay, this is maybe kind of controversial.
It is very
But-
controversial. That's that. Yeah.
So the idea is that there are people who they believe that in their certain social group it benefits them more to be transgender,
Okay.
or
Okay.
being transgender is a good explanation to why they feel the way they do.
Okay.
Not necessarily true, but I think it's a problem. I don't think that everyone who says they're transgender are actually transgender.
Okay.
Whether or not it's because they're being they're trying to cheat the system and gain it, or they're confused, or whatever the motivation is. I think because it's such a hot topic now, a lot of people will jump to that as being trans.
Okay.
Just like how you could say, I have a lot of anxiety. That doesn't necessarily mean I have OCD.
Yes.
It just means that I have anxiety. It could just mean I have anxiety. It could mean that you have OCD.
Yeah.
But to self-diagnose yourself in that situation can just be wrong. Like, you don't have that condition. You just have
Yes.
stress.
Yes. Yeah.
And we all have stress. It's such a relative thing. And how do you really diagnose that without having like a physical proof that you have OCD? Because
Yeah.
your brain synapses are aligned this way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. I can agree with that.
Yeah. And
By pride case.
Let's move on.
yeah, it's a very touchy topic because I don't want to say anyone doesn't have the right to say, yeah, I'm actually transgender.
Yeah.
That's fine. It's just that a lot of people, unfortunately, not a lot, I don't want to say a lot of people.
But
There
there
are
are
people
peop-
out there who will take advantage of the situation
Okay.
to gain.
Okay.
I feel it's unfortunate.
Okay. Let me add one variable to this conversation then, which, again, correct me if I'm wrong, Casey, because I'm not entirely sure. From what I understand of the situation for transgender people, the perception for the community, at least, and this is not to deny what you're saying, that there's a possibility that there are some people. There is always that possibility. However, I'm sure a lot of people within the community would argue, saying that what is there truly to gain from doing that? Because
Well, I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Why would someone choose a harder life?
Y- it-
Because they
yeah.
have so much difficulty in life being accepted by the population.
yes,
What I would say is the reason it's considered transcending now is because there's so much social outrage and groups of people that are propping up and not propping up, but like
okay,
supporting
okay.
each other. There's so much strength
Uh-huh,
now, so much support for these people, being gay, being transgender, being bi, being whatever. LGBT people. There's so many people out there who support you now, and we all band together to support each other in our hard times.
Okay.
And if you're a 16-year-old who doesn't belong to anything, and most of the people around you, or you see a lot of people around you behaving that way, it would behoove you to fit in with those people.
Okay.
And unfortunately, they should just say, yeah, those people are cool people. I want to be with those people. I'll be myself with those people.
Mm-hmm.
But then if they don't, if they want, like, I don't know, the extra edge,
or like
whatever,
to truly feel accepted or a part of it.
you just be like, oh yeah, I'm also that way.
Okay. Okay.
Or
okay.
like a white guy who wants to be with black people. That's why they start, like, their perception is, oh, if I act all gangstery and whatever, I'll fit more in. And I think that's wrong too. It's just like, if you want to be with those people, just be with those people.
Yeah.
You don't need to, like,
Pretend to be someone that.
pretend to be something that you're not.
Okay. Okay. So, and again, it's not saying that this is a prevalent.
Yeah, this is a bad choice of words. I don't want to say there's a lot of people doing it, but I see enough of it happening that it's not just like
Oh, really?
that guy doing it or just that guy doing it.
Oh, really? You have, like personal experiences or just within?
I see a lot of situations where people behave a certain way, and it doesn't line up with, like,
Okay, but not specifically to the conversation I had.
what happened.
Transgender specifically. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I don't know anyone personally. Let's see. I mean, first of all, I don't interact with that many people, but I've seen instances.
Can't go beyond 2.0.
I've seen instances. I feel like it's an inflated number because people are trying to. It's sort of like a special snowflake syndrome. It's just like I also. Some people want to feel special, even if that's not necessarily good.
And even if it means like being completely counter to who they actually are.
Yeah. Okay. Or not necessarily even counter. It could line up very well with who they are.
Okay.
But just because, okay, basically, I can act very gay if I really want to. I am not gay at all. Why would I act gay?
Okay.
Like, why would I pretend to do gay things?
I'm gonna hit the restroom. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Alright, so yeah. It's not even pretending. I am doing gay things. Why would I do gay things if I'm straight?
Okay.
And there's, like, other motives to it. In my particular case, I think it's funny. Because it makes other people uncomfortable, or not even uncomfortable. It doesn't make you uncomfortable.
No.
So then, what the fuck am I doing it for?
I don't know.
Is he auto?
Yeah, I put him on auto.
Yeah, and so I think that it's very possible that there are people who, for whatever motive it is, identify themselves as transgenders when they are not in that transgender.
Okay. And I understand with the issue of certain, like, well, actually, what is the problem? What is the inherent problem with that? Because how is that any different from anyone pretending to be anybody? Because
it depends on the motives. Some people are doing it not maliciously, but they're doing it selfishly.
Okay.
Because they're not trying to further the cause for transgender people. They're using it to gain for personal gain. Okay. And that's why I think it depends on issue.
Okay. Can you be a little bit more specific or elaborate on that? Like, what is the end goal here?
With transgender, it's hard for me to discuss. I'm not as familiar with it. Okay. But let's talk about, like, psychological disease.
Okay.
Like, if I would say that I am high functioning autistic, and that's why I'm so shy. That's why I'm not good at English, but I'm really good at math. I could mislead people into believing that this is how it is. This is what it is. It's not a huge deal. Whatever. I have a high functioning autistic friend who doesn't have these issues, but then they meet a person who's actually high functioning autistic, and it's like a real struggle for them. And these people that are pretending to do these things, it's not necessarily wrong in and of itself, but it discredits the actual problem.
Okay. I see. Okay. I see where the conversation is going now. Okay. I see your point now, and yeah, no, I agree Wholeheartedly, yes. And it's a question. Correct me if this is the wrong direction that we're going with this conversation, but it sounds like it's a question of people needing to be more vigilant / aware of their own communities and not just being open to accepting everybody for what they say.
As unfortunate as it sounds, I think it's a bad thing that we're so willing to accept anyone for whoever they are, whatever they are, no questions asked.
Yes. Okay. And no, I completely agree with you. I am definitely one of the first people who would definitely say I would prefer to live in a world where we didn't have to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I am very well aware that that is not the way the world works.
It's really unfortunate. I think, yeah, there's lots of people that have a lot of problems that we could really help with. Autistic, what I don't know. There's so many things that people can have problems with, and if they're having a legitimate problem,
we need to be there to help them.
We need to help them. But then I don't want to help people that
who actually don't have the problem and who are just actually I think
it's unfortunate because they're not necessarily even doing it maliciously. They could just misdiagnose themselves and say it's just like you're an really awkward teenager.
You're back in, by the way, James. You're back in.
So like if I was just really awkward all the time and I had really shitty personal skills, and it led to just me having like the worst of high school experiences.
Okay.
It would be easier if I would just say like, yeah, unfortunately I'm autistic and I just can't do these things. Rather than, no, you should work to better yourself. Don't use autism as an excuse to say that you can't do better.
Yes.
You should do better. Even if you're autistic,
yeah.
we'll say, yeah, that really sucks. We'll help you. We'll be more understanding. But that doesn't excuse you from just saying, like, I can't do better.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Direful. No, yeah, I agree. It sounds a lot like wind. It sounds it sounds very similar also to like in a less like personal ability to fix yourself kind of way. It sounds a lot like when you get misdiagnosed for something. If you treat certain ailments to your body for the wrong causes, it can cause more problems. Yeah. You see where I'm going with that?
Yeah. I just want things to be real. And for people to take up the mantle of something to mask their deficiencies elsewhere not only hurts themselves, but hurts other people that actually have that problem.
Yeah, okay.
Or not necessarily, it's not even necessarily a problem in the terms of like transgender or being gay. It's not a problem, but it taints the dialogue that does exist with people.
Yeah, I'm dead.
Because there's plenty of people who do think that being gay is a problem. And to have a dialogue with them, we need to be truthful about it. If they say, oh no, there's just a bunch of people who are if they're just like, oh yeah, being gay is just it's just a thing people do to be popular,
then that's wrong.
It's wrong until it actually is a thing. So like people who do it to just be popular are ruining the dialogue in the sense that the people who oppose gay people actually have a point. We need to not give them the ammo to even say that. Just say like, no, because there's actually gay people who
actually have a lot of problems.
Gay and actually have these social problems and whatever. I just like it doesn't help the cause to pretend.
Okay, I agree. Did you have any thoughts? Did you need a bit of a?
Do you understand what we're talking about? Or not understand, but are you like up to speed with because you left?
I mean, I kind of get what you're talking about. I'm just trying to keep up with the conversation as well.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, it just How did that come from transgender?
Well, it's just the whole idea of there are certain people who would pretend to be a certain thing.
But I brought up that in response to something else.
Oh.
I forget why.
Well,
like my initial question was like, have you ever thought you were gay?
yes.
And then you asked like, is there anything wrong with it? No,
Something like that.
else that it was about.
I don't entirely remember. In any case, after this battle, I need to read this very long message that Casey has left for us.
Oh, she probably has some commentary.
Oh,
She's
definitely.
probably more educated
Than either of us, yes.
It's a really unfortunate position to be in because I have people that in my life who are more traditional about things and do oppose like there was the whole should we have a third bathroom for transgender people or what's the policy, should they go into their biological sex or should they go into what they identify with? And traditionally, no, you should just, you're a boy, you should go in there. Why is that even an issue? Just like because they identify as a girl. And it becomes like a psychological issue for them. It's really uncomfortable for them. Or not. I don't know exactly. But that it's difficult to discuss with these people because they have these perceptions about it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I feel like they have some points to it. There are people that exhibit the behavior. They're citing anecdotal evidence. And I wish there just wasn't any anecdotal evidence. I wish people wouldn't give them the ammo to even discuss from that viewpoint.
Yeah.
I try to like understand and like create a dialogue of tolerance with them, but it's difficult sometimes. Oh, I missed that auto. Oh.
Because I need to read this.
Oh,
okay.
Yay, I'm ready to.
I agree with what you're saying, and I definitely do. Very quick on the conversation about bathrooms. I like personally, I feel that there really shouldn't need to be a third bathroom, because in many ways that's basically just pointing out you are different and you don't deserve to be like the rest of us. Well, especially when transgender, though there are people who are in the middle, and well, that's a completely different conversation in and of itself.
It starts getting pretty hairy.
Yeah, but for the current conversation, the fact that there are people who believe that they are of the opposite sex and they want to be in the bathroom of the sex that they believe that they should be, then they should be allowed to go in there. Most of them are not doing. They're
not in there trying to be like a pervert.
Exactly.
They're just going there to use the bathroom.
Exactly. All right, so let me go ahead and read what Casey has said.
Okay.
So let's see. I've had this conversation with someone else about hitting extremes of identity in order to find where you are or where you fit. I'll just say it can be dangerous for young trans people who are figuring themselves out to doubt what they tell you they identify as in any way. But as long as you take them for their word, whatever they identify as, then it's alright, I guess. The default should be to take people at their word when it comes to identity and treat the cases that Nathan is talking about as exactly what they are, special cases and not the norm. Okay. Did you understand that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would say it's true. Because like not only are trans people relatively rare to cisgendered or however you want to call them, people that are posing as that are even rarer. It comes to light a lot more often than I would probably like, just because of how the internet works. And we get this like we get like we're basically force fed the extremes.
The
just
whole
like anything. It's just like, oh my god, there's so much death and murder. And while there is, it's a relatively small percentage of what's going on in the world. We just get like there was a shooting in this country, and next day there's a bombing or whatever, and it seems like it's just like back to back, everyone's dying. But if you thought about it, it's just because like it's a big world, there's a lot of people, and unfortunately, yes, there's a lot of death and mayhem going on, but it's probably not as much as you are led to believe.
Agreed. Okay. that actually is an interesting conversation in and of itself, because it talks about, especially going into specifically just media in general and the different food theories of thought when it comes to media, how, and this actually leads very specifically to video games, which I always want to come back to, in the idea of whether video games can make people violent, whether they, or whatever, that they have a lot of control over our behavior and causes us to do things that is deemed bad to society. One of the, for not video games but for traditional media, for TV and movies, is that idea of the perception. So there was the, I'm forgetting what the name of the concept is called, but the idea that cultivation theory, there we go. The idea that by watching TV, by watching movies, you will cultivate.
That was 2 seconds.
My bad. I'll dial back. What are you saying?
That cultivation theory states that by watching violent TV and whatnot, it would cause people to become violent. And they've been trying to bring, even though they've kind of more or less proven that that's not the case anyways, but they try to use that same cultivation theory in video games, and that because you were playing these games, that's even worse, because that emphasizes even more that we're going to become more violent and everything. Before we discuss whether that is true or not, going back to traditional media about cultivation theory, what they actually found out in that with those case studies was that people didn't become more violent. When they saw lots of violence on TV and movies and whatnot, they actually became more afraid, because they thought that the world was more violent. Exactly. And I think that's actually a very interesting conversation. What do you guys think about that, about video games, and about whether media in of itself can actually affect your behavior as a person?
Why do you start, James?
We will talk about that game in a second. That's actually a great topic to discuss about hatred.
Never heard of that game.
It's a ultra violent game.
It's actually one of the first games.
Is that the street shooter one?
The isometric, like super edgelord 90s black long hair going around killing everybody. Yes, that's the one.
Okay, I'm thinking of the right
Sounds
game.
like Sephiroth.
I think, like, basically the way I see it is that games like that have people playing them because they find the commentary or the setting interesting, and or they are already aggressive. And they do things that let them be aggressive, not the other way around. There's probably, I feel like there's probably a minor correlation to it, in the sense that when I have been in a setting that I am aggressive in, I will most likely temporarily be more aggressive when I have finished for a time.
Very quickly to add to that, yes, in all of the current studies that have been conducted so far dealing with this idea of how video games affect us, they've noticed that, yes, specifically in violent video games, they did notice a rise in aggression. Not necessarily violence. We have to make sure that people understand that there's a big difference between the two as well. People do become more aggressive. However, it is in the short term. It is not a long-term effect. It's basically it's a liken to if you get really heated up in a conversation, or if you get really heated up in a basketball game. You'll get really hyped up. You'll get really souped up on adrenaline and being super aggressive in that moment. But like, does that last forever? Did that conversation or that one basketball game, is that gonna stay in you for the rest of your days? Obviously, there can be an argument that there might be certain very rare situations where that can happen, but on the general, no, that's not what's going to happen. Most people will forget about it relatively quickly.
Yeah.